Hey everyone, Dark here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are playing some Ark Mobile, and today's video is going to be huge. Let me tell you why. I'm going to show you guys the top 10 areas, locations, methods to hiding all that good loot and hiding your base. Now before I get started guys, real quick, make sure you watch all the way to the end. Some of these methods, areas, locations will be new for you, even if others you've used before, and the new ones may very well be extremely helpful. So again, make sure you watch all the way to the end. Now the very first area that I'm going to show you guys is the swamp. Now the reason the swamp is such a good spot for hiding stuff is because nobody likes the swamp. There's only one reason people go to the swamp usually, and that's to farm up the different trees from mushrooms and wood and thatch and stuff like that. But generally speaking, you don't often see people just running around the swamp area. So it's really a good spot to hide stuff as long as you're hiding your stuff away from the trees. My favorite is, you notice all these like green patches in the water. That stuff will hide your boxes from view. So you can actually hide mortal pestles in like storage containers in the storage chests underneath these, and it hides it perfectly. Nobody sees it unless they would literally walk right up to it. Super hidden, super good. And there's really no, like right here, there's no reason for someone to come be farming right here. The only way someone sees that is that they literally walk right over it. So again, the swamp is one of my favorite areas to hide stuff by far, and I highly suggest you start using it. Alright guys, so number one was a certain area and location, the swamp, but number two is actually a method. So this can be done anywhere. I would suggest doing it wherever looks the most bobbish or noobish. What you do is you essentially place a pillar, and I'll show you with stone and wood, but ideally you want to use stone, and I'll show you why. But you're going to use a pillar, and then you're going to put a mortal pestle right on top. You're going to kind of have to angle it to where it's hidden all around it except for one area so that you can access it. But the mortal and pestle will literally be inside the pillar, and the only way you see it is if you literally walk up to it and get close enough to access it. And now obviously if you just have a random pillar sitting somewhere, someone's going to get a little bit suspicious about why there's a random pillar around, and they might go up and investigate, which is what you don't want, because the whole point of it is to make it look like it's not something worth looking at. And just to show you guys, on the wooden pillar, it's a lot more obvious, so I wouldn't suggest using wooden pillars, period. But anyways, you don't want to leave a pillar just around in random areas because people will investigate it. They just will. So what you want to use is ceilings, or get creative. You know, make it look like it's something else. Have you ever seen, when you're running around the island or flying around, there's what look like, I don't want to say, it's not taming pen, it's like taming height advantage. Somebody puts like 2, 3, 4 pillars up, they put a ceiling, they put a ladder down, and they use it to like get up higher to shoot things and knock them out. Make one of those, you know, make something simple like this. Put a gate frame, or a fence, not a gate frame, like a fence around it. Make it look like some Bob made it. The other thing you can do is you can actually put the mortal pestle underneath the pillar, and you can even stack them as well. Like you could put one here, put one on top, put a pillar on top of that, and on and so on and so on and so on. Just make sure that you still have it accessible for yourself, and make sure that it's not obvious to anyone that's just walking by or looking at it. That's kind of the goal you want to go for when you're building these hidden loot stashes. Now number 3 on this list is neither a location, area, or a method. It's actually just a general tip and just general review of the typical storage containers to use for hiding stuff. So this here, we have the mortal pestle, we've got the storage box, and we also have the storage chest. So the storage box is pretty much useless when compared to these two. The only reason you ever use a storage box is if you don't have the ability to use one of the other two. The mortal pestle is very good, very small, great for hiding in all sorts of different places. But if you can fit the storage chest where you want to put the mortal pestle, use the storage chest. The reason is because there's way more spaces. So check this out. 60 slots for putting stuff, guys. Not 12 like the mortal pestle, not 15 like the box. 60. That's a lot more, and honestly it's way worth it. And they're pretty small. They're not as big as the storage box, they're not as small as the mortal pestle, but they're pretty decent size for hiding. Now, the way you get them, it is a premium purchase for the Ingram. That means a one-time amber purchase in order to get the Ingram to make them. It's either 20 or 25 amber, I don't remember which, but it's very cheap. I would highly suggest, if you don't have it already, to save up the amber from the ads, because you can watch the ads every 15 minutes. Save it up, go get yourself that Ingram, and then when you make it, it doesn't cost potent dust, doesn't cost amber to make. It just costs 5 metal, some wood, and some fiber. Super cheap. You can literally make it for less metal than it takes to make a primitive flak chest piece, which nobody makes anyways. And it's great for hiding stuff. It really is. There's so many different uses. You'll see in the later sections of this video that the storage chest is a lifesaver. Anyway, so you want to stick either the mortal pestle or the storage chest. Use the mortal pestle where you have to, just like the pillar trick I showed you on number 2. Use the storage chest anywhere you can, because on top of the 60 slots, by the way, the health is way more. I mean, it's only 1,000 health for the mortal pestle. It's 7,500 for the storage chest. That's a ton. Okay, so those are the ones you want to stick to. That's number 3. And on to number 4, guys. The fourth method to keeping your loot hidden, and this is just hiding loot for this number, is the bushes and the trees and the rocks. So there's different bushes all around the map. I try to stay areas where people don't typically venture, so away from like metal, away from resources, somewhere that's just kind of in the forest, the different trees, and just typical areas like in the bottom right of the map, southern side of the map, the left side of the map. And I like these bushes specifically because these hide mortal pestles so well. Check this out. You see how hard that is to see? The only way you see that is if you're looking for it. Anytime someone actually finds those, and if you look on this bush like that, you can see. So you don't want to hide it under those bushes. But these other ones, it's so difficult to actually see the mortal pestle. Heck, you could hide it yourself to hide your loot. You'll put some sleeping bags somewhere nearby. You'll spawn in later and you'll be like, all right, I need to go get my armor and my gear. And you spend 20 minutes looking for your mortal pestle because you hid it so well. I kid you not, that will happen. It's happened to me. And they're really great spots. The only way people actually find these mortal pestles and the way you get them destroyed is if somebody, number 1, just happens to walk across it, which isn't typical if you manage to find a decent, less populated area. Or number 2 is if they're scouting the whole map using like a Quetzal or a Bronto or large creatures that can hit large areas in a quick, rapid time, because they'll just go and destroy everything they can in a certain area. You can also hide under trees and stuff like that. I like these bushes specifically because people don't usually harvest these in the same way. But yeah, I would say these bushes are what you want to focus on, and that is number 4. Alright guys, now next on the list is the dolphins, the itchies. That's basically what I call them, and this is for hiding loot again. The reason these guys are so good, and real quick, I'm in an underwater cave. You do not want to hide these in the underwater cave. You want to hide them somewhat near an underwater cave though, so that you can place sleeping bags down in the cave, and that way you can, hopefully, assuming they don't get destroyed, spawn nearby. Essentially though, the reason these are so good for hiding gear and hiding loot is because they don't get aggroed on by other creatures underwater. Now I'm in single player right now, and I noticed earlier that I was getting aggroed on. That doesn't happen online though. I promise it doesn't happen online. As long as you haven't revived them yet, nothing will aggro on you. As long as it's a fresh tame or a bred tame, you'll be good to go. Now, when you tame these guys, they're super easy to tame. They're a passive tame. You can get the kibble from the chef station. You can also get the bombs, of course, which make it a lot faster. You don't have to do it that way. That's just the fastest way to do it. But taming them is fairly simple and easy. The level doesn't necessarily matter. You just need to get one tamed and then go park it somewhere, out of sight, out of mind. Make sure you take the saddle off of the dolphin, the itchy, when you leave it, and then you just put your stuff inside and you leave it alone. Now, as you can see, it is getting aggroed on because, like I said, I'm in single player, but this won't happen in multiplayer. Nothing will aggro it, and it'll be just sitting there underwater. So that is the next one on the list. Now, next up for another spot to hide loot is explorer notes. Now, I know what you're saying. How does that work for hiding loot? Well, here's the thing. If you can find an explorer note that most players don't necessarily frequent, and you'll kind of get a feel for it when you're on a server. If you hide something in an explorer note and it gets broken within a couple days, don't do that again. Put it in another explorer note. If it keeps happening, try a different method. But sometimes some of these methods are scattered for often, and other times they are not. Now, this specific explorer note, this is in the snow obviously, has a little bit of a weird placement. It's kind of a weird spot. Most Explorer notes aren't like this, but if you look, I was able to actually, and look, I don't even know if you can see it yet, but once we get up here, you'll be able to see that I've actually hidden a mortal pestle up on top. Now, you couldn't see that before, and I don't think anybody flying overhead is going to notice that. Anybody that lands here isn't going to see it. It's going to take an eye to see that, or you'd have to literally fly like right over it so it shows up on your, this is what you're looking at on the top of the screen. So that's a pretty good spot, and you can find spots like this within most of the Explorer notes to hide mortal pestles and make it look just part of the structure. It's kind of a good disguised area. Now, let me patch ahead to another Explorer note so I can show you how you can also hide the mortal pestle inside the actual Explorer note itself. Alright, now let me be very clear, guys. This specific Explorer note is not a good spot to hide stuff. This is on top of Obsidian Mountain. There's obsidian, crystal, lots of metal. People build up here, people farm up here. Don't hide stuff here. But this was just a nearby Explorer note that I knew about that I could hide a mortal pestle in, just to show you. So if you notice, I can literally place this inside the note, and I can make it so that just the edge of it sticks out just a little bit, and that way I can access it from the side. Most people walking up, if they don't see it, won't be able to access it because they're going to look at the note and they won't be able to even actually look at the mortal pestle. You have to go to the edge that you're allowing it to stick out in order to actually access it. Otherwise, it just won't work. So let me place it just so I can show you guys. All right, now check this out. So if it's placed now, so you see how you can see it, but when you walk up to it, you just see the Explorer note. But then if you get close enough, you can see how you can access it, right? You can get access to it, but if you're not really looking, you're just gonna see that. And if the note's actually closed for people, which sometimes if anyone's transferred servers, that happens. Sometimes they're closed even though you've actually used them. So that is definitely part of this list. All right, guys, so number 7 on this list is underwater. So what I like to do is, number 1, stay way away from silica pearls, because that's the only thing underwater that people actually farm, aside from maybe, most people don't even farm oil underwater. Stay away from silica pearls. But what I like to do is look for the different bushes and just general sea ocean plant material, and I like to hide the storage chests underneath. Now you can hide boxes, but they will break very easily, just like I told you before. You can also hide mortal pestles, but it's not necessary because the storage chests can be hidden underwater pretty safely, and they're pretty good health and slots. So you don't really need to worry about not having enough space. Now, do not put vaults underwater. I've seen people do it. I've done it. The reason it's not a good idea is because they're big, they're noticeable, and if anyone finds your stuff underwater, it's not going to be protected. It's there because it's hidden. So if somebody finds your underwater vault, they're just going to go get C4, farm up C4, whatever they need to go and break it open, because they know it's hidden and they know there's probably something good inside of it. So you see how this plant material there you can hide stuff in? Don't put stuff there because the silica pearls are right there. An anglerfish just needs to swim right over it with somebody on top farming up them pearls, and boom, they're going to find your stuff. Now if you look over here, you see how there's all this plant material? You could easily put storage chests. Oh, and also guys, watch out for these eels. The eels are probably the biggest problem when you're doing this, and it's also helpful to use this in conjunction with the itchy, the dolphin hiding loot trick that I showed you earlier, because you can hide stuff in the dolphin and the itchy, and then also swim to your hidden loot boxes, your storage chests, whenever you need to access your more secretive stuff, right? That's kind of what I like to do. But essentially, you hide your storage chest just in these bushes. Nobody's going to be able to see it. It's near impossible to see. The only way you can visually see these things is if you're far enough away to where the plants haven't rendered in yet. But even then, you have to have an eye, because the storage chests are so small, they're hard to actually spot underwater, especially with the view that we all have underwater due to just being underwater. So this is definitely one of the best ways to hide stuff. If you get found right away, if you put something hidden and somebody finds it right away, try hiding something in a different part of the ocean and see if that works instead. Every server is a little different, so you have to try out the different methods to see what works on that server. But this method usually works pretty well, especially if you can find a decent spot. So this is definitely a good number on this list. Number 8 on this list, guys, is probably one of my favorite things to use and to do because it's so easy to set up. It doesn't take a whole lot of resources. It's super cheap, easy, and it's also a respawn point because you can put a bed in here. You can even hide a bed underneath the foundation for this method. I won't show you guys that, but essentially you hide storage containers underneath the foundation. But as I'm sure for any of you that have played for a while, you probably already know this trick. If you haven't played, then this might be totally new for you, which awesome. I'm glad I can show you this. But even if you've seen stuff hidden under foundations before, you probably haven't seen it disguised as a legit base. So if you can actually make it to where it looks like it's just a Bob base or a new base, just a simple 2x2, put a door, make it one wall high, put a smithy inside, a mortal pestle, a bed, some boxes, unlock everything so that hopefully they don't destroy your smithy so you can actually use it to craft stuff. But just unlock everything so that when they do break in, someone's going to raid you. So when you do this, somebody will raid you, okay? But hopefully with everything unlocked, they won't destroy your stuff. That way you can use it later. But essentially what you're going to do is you're going to hide stuff underneath the foundation. Now, I've always done, or I haven't always, but I've used mortal and pestles a lot in the past. With the storage chest, it's even better because you can fit a lot more spaces underneath because they have more spaces. Now, each time you place it, though, you want to just double check that you can still fit that foundation over the top because sometimes it's a little glitchy, and you can usually fit between 3 to 5 of these underneath. I haven't really been able to comfortably fit 3x3, so 6 yet, but usually you can make it work with at least 4, maybe 5 if you're lucky. But since there's 60 slots each for these storage chests, if you can get 4 in there, that's 240 slots to hide stuff. That is a lot of space underneath one single foundation. And if you look, if somebody breaks through the door, they're not breaking that foundation because it's going to break the front foundation, if anything. And that's why you want to make sure as well, by the way, that the foundation you're hiding stuff underneath is not right next to the door. Now, the key to this method, though, because like I told you before, a lot of people know about hiding stuff under foundations, so you want to try not to make it obvious that that's what you're doing. What you want to do is blend in, make this look like a Bob base. Put a smithy inside, put a forge inside, put a bed inside, put a mortal pestle inside, put a couple storage boxes inside. Make this look like some new player has been putting some stone stuff together. They put their base together, they put everything unlocked because they didn't want somebody to break their stuff. Just do it that way. Also, this is very important, leave stuff inside the smithy and inside the boxes. Make it look like somebody's been using it. Just put some basic resources, permanent metal pick. That way if you do get raided, somebody doesn't get suspicious, like how do they have all this stuff but nothing inside? There must be something underneath the foundations. So make sure you disguise it. Also, don't put anything on top of the foundation that you're using to hide this stuff because you are going to have to destroy it and replace it every time you access it. So definitely make sure that that foundation is openly accessible so nothing on top gets destroyed each time you have to access underneath it. So this, again, one of my favorites, number 8 on this list. And number 9, guys, and honestly, I'd be so wrong if I didn't put this on the list because this is a great way to hide stuff, it really is. And that way is Purlovias. Now, most of you probably already know about Purlovias. If you already have, make sure you stay till number 10 because number 10 is probably the best way that I'm going to show you guys, and most of you probably haven't seen it before, so it's a really good method. But Purlovias are really good for hiding stuff. You can keep them buried. Make sure, a couple things. Make sure you level up weight so you can put more stuff inside of them, but make sure they're always on passive. Make sure they're not on following. If they're on following, they're going to unbury themselves. If they're on aggressive or neutral, they might unbury themselves. Make sure they are always on passive, not following. Also, make sure you don't put meat in their bodies because sometimes when they do their eating animation, it unburies them. That's happened to me a couple times. I don't know if it's supposed to happen that way, but just don't do that. Usually they don't get anywhere near to running out of food anyways. The only ways these guys can be destroyed is if somebody happens to find where it's at, which is you pretty much have to use a Trudon to do, or kind of guesstimate where one might be based on a nearby base or something like that. But if they use like an explosive damage or an area effect type of attack or damage, that can unbury it. Also, though, wild creatures can unbury these too. If it's near where a Bronto might randomly swing its tail, or if it's near where there's a Rex or a Giga that might be biting nearby, it can get unburied. Make sure you put it out of the middle of the open. Make sure you put it off to the side somewhere, and you should be good to go. Make sure you bury it each time you access it, and it's a great way to hide stuff. It it needs to be on every hidden base type of list, because that's what they're used for. So Perlovia is number 9 on the list. Alright guys, so number 10 on this list, and this is probably one of the best ways, and this is a way you probably haven't seen before, is this base right here. Now you're probably laughing like, what? This is on the beach, it's huge, there's no way this is hidden in any way. This is called the Nomad. The reason it's called the Nomad is the first guy that I know about that came up with this base design. His name is Fallen Nomad. He's another YouTuber. He's a small Ark Mobile YouTuber and other games as well. Check him out if you want. Fallen Nomad is his name. I call this base design though after him the Nomad because he came up with it. Essentially what this is made to look like a typical noob style base, a Bob base, because most Bobs and noobs build big, because this is a building game, this is a taming game. It's what they do. It's fun. Look inside. You don't see anything. Now this specific base design, you should put stuff inside, and I'll go ahead and put some stuff just to show you guys. You want to put a smithy, you want to put a bed, you're going to want to put some forges, you're going to want to make sure everything is unlocked, because somebody is going to break into this. It's just going to happen. They're supposed to. You want somebody to break into this base, because the sooner somebody breaks in, the more likely everyone else is just going to leave it alone. Because if you're in the alpha position and you're flying up to this base, the door's already broken open, there's a wall broken off to the side, and you're like, okay, this is some Bob base, somebody's already raided it, nothing's inside. You're just gonna leave it alone, because sure, maybe somebody hid something underneath the foundations, but how many C4s are gonna take to break all this apart just so you can check, just to see? You're probably not gonna waste your C4 because it's just a waste. Now, what I like to do is to put a whole bunch of forges inside, because that allows for, you can farm up a lot of metal that way and just have it burning, and then when it's done, hide the metal that you get. But also there's a chance with all these forges, and they're all going to be unlocked, you have a chance somebody else might actually smelt some metal themselves, which will get you some charcoal, because they probably will take their metal, but they probably won't take the charcoal. So I like to put a bunch of forges inside, put a bed nearby, a smithy, storage boxes, the whole shebang. And now let me go ahead and get this stuff placed, just so we're gonna make this look like home. We're gonna make this look like a bot base. We want to walk into this base and say, a new player lives here. This is their base, this is where they're at. That's what you want it to look like, okay? And then you're gonna be blown away when you see though why this is such an advanced base. And most people will not even see it, they won't even think about it. And one of the keys to this is it just looks simple. It's a simple but huge base. People don't want to, you don't want to start blowing stuff up, because it's not worth your time to go blow everything up. But check this out, and before I show you, make sure everything's unlocked. This is key. Make sure everything is unlocked. If this area is 100% empty, most likely people are going to assume there's something hiding. Okay? You want some of this stuff to still be here even after it's raided, because you want someone to walk in and say, it's already been raided, it's a bot base. Okay? So make sure everything's unlocked, so you have a better chance of it, some of it at least, still standing. Now, check this out. All the way in the back, this just looks like the back of the base. But it's not. It's not the back of the base. What do you mean it's not the back of the base? It's not the back of the base. Check this out. Let's go ahead and get rid of this wall, and just like hiding stuff under foundations, we've got a hidden spot back here. Look at this. This is plenty of space. You can put a smithy back here, a bed back here, you can put mortar and pestles back here, you can put boxes back here. Now, I don't suggest storing your valuables back here. I suggest some of the other methods just for hiding stuff. You want to split it up. You want to do about 2 to 4 methods in this video. You don't want to just do one. But this specific method not only is a good spot for hiding some of your loot, it's also a good spot for hiding your crafting stations, because most likely this won't get found, and now you don't have to rebuild a smithy every single time you need to craft stuff. With the other methods, you can't do that. You have to craft a smithy every single time you want to craft something, right? So that's why this is such a really good method. Now, whenever you're leaving though, you need to make sure that you put the wall back, and you need to make sure that you put the wall back correctly. It needs to look like an outside wall from the inside of the base. You need to make sure it's positioned perfectly. If it's not positioned right and it's not facing the right way, It's going to be obvious. Someone's going to know something's up, and they're going to blow through it. Okay? I can't stress how important that is to this method. It's got to be perfect. Okay? It's got to match the rest of these walls in the exact spots. Look, and look how much you can fit in here. Now, real quick, guys, don't put a fabricator in here either. The way this is made right now, and let me show you guys with the wall. You see how it's got to fit perfectly there? Let me actually show you from... So essentially you drop all your stuff off, but then when you're signing off, have a wall in your inventory, and then make sure you kill yourself before you log off, but you're going to place the wall. And you see how that is obvious? Don't put the wall like that. That is just a, here's my wallet, here's my social security card, go ahead and raid me. Even that is obvious as well. It's not the right spot. It's got to be on the right spot, like that, okay? That fits perfectly. No one's going to see past it. Anyways, don't put a fabricator in there either, because the rendering, and I have a video up on it, check it out. It's on my channel, on the whole rendering deal, okay? That's something you really want to know, especially when you're trying to stay hidden. But if you put a fabricator in there, it'll render before the walls. So don't put a fabricator in there unless, and this is bonus number 11 on this list. Let me show you guys number 11. Hold on one sec. Bonus number 11 is that if you dye everything, I'm talking everything, the walls, the ceilings, the foundations, everything, including the inner or secret wall, gotta dye it all. If you dye everything, you can actually fit a fabricator inside and not worry about the rendering, because the dye will cover it up. And that's what that other video talks about. You should really watch that if you haven't already watched it already, or if you don't already know about how all the rendering tricks and stuff like that work. But essentially, because everything's dyed, this fabricator will not be visible from a distance. This base will be very, very visible, but it should already be visible because it's a huge base on the beach, okay? But because of the dye, it's going to keep everything hidden and secret, regardless of any rendering. Now, this is super important. You're going to have to dye the wall every single time you replace it. So when you put the wall back in the right spot, you got to dye it. Otherwise, it'll give it away. Because if you're outside and everything's dyed, but you're inside and something's not, then obviously something isn't right. Now, you could even call this bonus number 12, guys. You don't need the forges on that side. It's good to have them there anyways, but bonus number 12 would be, let's put forges along the back wall. Let me show you why. Originally, when you walk into this base, the back wall area looks kind of empty, which can raise a little bit of suspicion in some players' minds. If you have forges all along this back wall, people are not going to even think twice. They're just going to be like, okay, that's their forge area. Oh, they've got 2 forge areas. Okay, they try to smelt a lot of metal, but they've already been raided, so it's just been left alone. If you walk in here, you're not going to even think twice about it. But you can jump on top of forges, guys. So if you have forges all along the back wall, you can actually jump on top of it and just go into your secret area through this second wall. Instead of the bottom wall, go through the top wall, and now you can access everything. And then when you need to jump out, you just hop on the smithy, hop on the chest, hop your way out. No big deal, no problem at all. And now if you do this in conjunction with the dyed everything, like I'm showing you here, you can essentially have an entire crafting area back here, hidden from view. No one's gonna know about it. Smithy, fabricator, hidden loot back here, all the good stuff. You can make everything you need, hide a variety of stuff in other ways, whether it's the chests underwater, mortal and pestles under the bushes, hide it in a perlovia, whatever it is, hiding under foundations. You can do everything. You can do all sorts of stuff, and then you can craft stuff here so you don't have to remake your crafting areas every single time. This is probably my favorite way to build a secret hidden area to store your stuff and to craft stuff. I highly suggest you all start trying to do something like this. Get creative. Get creative. Don't be too complex though. Keep it simple so that nobody questions it, okay? This is number 10, bonus 11, and bonus 12 on this list. Anyways, guys, I hope you all enjoyed the video. I hope it helped you out. If you are not already subscribed, please consider subscribing. It'll really help me out a lot. And you can also stay up to date with all my future video uploads and content. Also, don't forget to smash that like button and leave me a comment. Let me know which one of these top 10 hidden base locations and areas and methods was new for you. Let me know which one you're excited to try out. Also, I stream on Twitch once per week on Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So come check it out there. Join me there if you'd like to hang out for some streams. And last but not least, join the Discord. The link is in the description down below. My name is Dark, and I will see you next time.